The emergency beacon's shrill alarm cut through the quiet of the RSS Horizon's bridge like a knife. Jake Anderson leaned forward, his weathered hands gripping the navigation console with a tension that belied his typically calm demeanor. Outside the view screen, a massive electromagnetic anomaly pulsed, a spectral wound in the fabric of space that shouldn't exist according to any known stellar cartography. Incoming signal, Lieutenant Rebecca Kim called out, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. It's not like anything we've seen before. The anomaly wasn't random. It was deliberate, calculated. Each pulse seemed to carry a rhythm that spoke of intelligence far beyond conventional understanding. Jake had spent 23 years in deep space exploration, and he'd never encountered anything that made the hair on the back of his neck stand on end quite like this. Full spectrum analysis, he commanded, his voice steady despite the electric anticipation crackling through the bridge. The Horizon was humanity's most advanced deep space research vessel, equipped with technologies that pushed the boundaries of known scientific understanding. Commissioned just 3 years earlier, the ship represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a testament to humanity's relentless drive to explore and understand the unknown. Lieutenant Kim's console erupted in a cascade of holographic displays. Quantum resonance patterns, gravitational anomaly readings, and spectral analysis charts filled the air around her. "Commander," she said, her voice a mix of professional restraint and barely contained excitement, "these readings are impossible." Jake moved closer, studying the intricate data streams. The anomaly wasn't just a spatial phenomenon. It was a message. No, more than a message. It was an invitation. "Prepare preliminary approach protocols," he ordered, "but keep all defensive systems at maximum readiness." The ship's artificial intelligence, a quantum neural network named Scout, began running complex predictive models. Probability matrices flickered in the peripheral displays, each calculation more bizarre than the last. Standard risk assessment protocols completely broke down when confronted with the anomaly's characteristics. "Scout," Jake called out, "run a comparative analysis against all known stellar phenomena in our database." A moment of silence followed. Then the AI's calm voice responded, "Negative correlation. The anomaly exhibits characteristics that defy current scientific understanding." Rebecca looked up, a slight tremor in her voice. "Sir, the energy signatures. They're responding to our ship's approach. It's like the anomaly is alive." Jake knew better than to dismiss such observations. The best discoveries in human space exploration had always come from moments that seemed impossible, from data points that didn't conform to existing models. The view screen began to shimmer, its standard display dissolving into a complex lattice of light and shadow. What appeared to be holographic fragments materialized, not as random projections, but as carefully constructed images that seemed to pulse with an internal logic. "Recording," Jake commanded, his hand instinctively touching the communication log interface. The first image resolved itself, a panoramic view of a massive space station, its design unlike anything in human or known alien architectural records. The structure seemed to be constructed from a material that defied traditional understanding, part mechanical, part something entirely different. Crystalline structures intertwined with what appeared to be living biomechanical components. Surrounding the station were fragments of text, or what seemed like text. The characters shifted and transformed, sometimes appearing as mathematical equations, sometimes as linguistic constructs that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Scout," Jake called, "begin linguistic deconstruction protocol." The AI's response was measured. Linguistic patterns suggest multiple simultaneous translation matrices. Warning: traditional decryption methods are insufficient. More images began to appear, civilizations rising and falling, stellar constructions that defied known physics. And through it all, a recurring theme: references to humanity. Not as observers, but as central actors in a cosmic narrative that stretched far beyond current human understanding. One holographic fragment remained constant, a series of symbols that seemed to translate to something between a greeting and a challenge. The unbound potential approaches. Rebecca's hand moved unconsciously to her communication headset. "Commander," she whispered, "what are we looking at?" Jake Anderson stared at the display, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Something that's going to change everything we know about our place in the universe." The horizon hung in space, balanced on the edge of a discovery that would rewrite the human understanding of existence itself. The research bay of the RSS Horizon hummed with an electric tension that bordered on religious anticipation. Rachel Martinez stood before a massive holographic display, her fingers moving with a surgeon's precision across quantum-sensitive interfaces. Behind her, a team of the most brilliant minds humanity had ever assembled watched in near total silence. "Initial decryption is revealing something extraordinary," she announced, her voice cutting through the low buzz of advanced equipment. The holographic projections began to shift and transform. What had initially appeared as random energy patterns now resolved into something far more complex. Multiple timelines flickered simultaneously, not as separate images, but as interconnected narratives that seemed to breathe and pulse with a life of their own. Dr. Michael Chen, the mission's lead sino-historian, leaned forward. His augmented reality glasses captured every minute detail, feeding information directly to the ship's central database. "These aren't just historical records," he muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "These are living memories." The first coherent narrative began to take shape. It showed a human expedition, but not from their current time. The technology was both familiar and utterly alien. Massive ships constructed from materials that seemed to defy the basic laws of physics moved through star systems that didn't match any known galactic charts. "Scout," Rachel called out to the ship's AI. "Begin comprehensive cross-reference protocol." The artificial intelligence's response was immediate. "Warning. Data streams exhibit quantum entanglement characteristics beyond current scientific understanding. Multiple potential realities detected simultaneously." The research team exchanged glances. This was more than just a scientific discovery. This was a fundamental challenge to everything humanity understood about time, space, and their own potential. A particularly vivid sequence caught everyone's attention. It showed humans working alongside alien civilizations to solve what appeared to be a massive cosmic crisis. But the humans weren't secondary characters or junior partners. They were central, pivotal, the key to resolving a challenge that threatened multiple species across vast stretches of the universe. Dr. Chen's hands moved rapidly, annotating the holographic display. "Look at the technological integration," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're not just using advanced technology. They're communicating with it, becoming part of it." Rachel zoomed in on a specific section. The technology seemed to respond to human intention in a way that defied traditional understanding of mechanical systems. It was almost as if the machines were alive, or more accurately, as if the boundary between technological system and living consciousness had completely dissolved. "The Vornak's preservation texts," she murmured, pulling up another layer of data. "They're not just a record. They're a message." The holographic display shifted again. Now it showed a series of complex mathematical equations that seemed to dance and transform. They were more than just numerical representations. They were a language, a way of communicating that transcended traditional linguistic barriers. Lieutenant Rebecca Kim, who had been quietly monitoring the ship's systems, suddenly spoke up. "The energy readings from these projections, they're not just passive. They're interactive. It's like the information itself is alive." Michael Chen nodded, his eyes never leaving the display. "We're not just discovering something. We're being tested." Another sequence began to play out. Humans appeared to be solving a complex interstellar problem that involved manipulating the fundamental structures of spacetime. But they weren't doing it through brute force or advanced technology alone. They were doing it through something more profound, a combination of collective imagination, adaptive thinking, and a deep understanding of cosmic principles. "Scout," Rachel called out, "can you provide a preliminary interpretation of these sequences?" The AI's response was carefully measured. Interpretation suggests multiple potential narratives. Humans are consistently identified as cosmic catalysts, species with the unique ability to transform existing systems through innovative problem-solving and collective consciousness. The research team fell silent. This was more than a historical record. This was a blueprint, an invitation, a challenge presented to a species that was just beginning to understand its true potential. Rachel Martinez looked around the room, a slow smile spreading across her face. "We're not just exploring space anymore," she said. "We're being invited to understand our place in something much larger." Outside the ship's view screen, the cosmic anomaly continued to pulse, waiting, watching, challenging humanity to rise to its true potential. The research bay transformed the moment Jake Anderson and Rachel Martinez activated the primary decryption matrix. What had been a controlled scientific environment erupted into a living, breathing landscape of impossible possibilities. Holographic simulations burst into existence, filling every available space with cascading realities that defied conventional understanding. Quantum entanglement became visible, ribbons of light and dark intertwining, showing potential futures that existed simultaneously yet contradicted one another. "Stabilize quantum buffers," Rachel shouted, her hands moving in complex gestures across the holographic interface. The ship's advanced systems responded, but even Scout seemed overwhelmed by the incoming data streams. Dr. Michael Chen stood transfixed. The simulations weren't just projections. They were living narratives. In one moment, he watched a version of humanity that had solved global climate change, transforming Earth into a planetary garden of unprecedented ecological harmony. The next moment, the same simulation showed a civilization that had expanded across multiple star systems, creating intricate networks of cooperative interstellar communities. "It's a quantum probability engine," Jake muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "Not just a record of potential futures, but an active system that generates and evaluates potential realities." The most shocking aspect was the system's apparent sentience. Each simulation responded to the research team's collective emotional and intellectual state. When Jake's curiosity peaked, the projections would become more intricate. When Rachel's analytical mind focused on a specific detail, entire branches of potential futures would crystallize into razor-sharp clarity. Lieutenant Rebecca Kim monitored the ship's systems, her fingers dancing across quantum-sensitive interfaces. "Energy readings are off the charts," she reported. "We're not just observing something. We're engaging with it." Suddenly, the simulations coalesced into a singular, breathtaking vision. Humanity appeared not as a single species, but as a cosmic catalyst, a fundamental force of transformation that existed across multiple dimensional planes. The projection showed humans solving challenges that went far beyond technological or environmental issues. They were reshaping the very fabric of reality itself. "Scout," Jake called out, "begin comprehensive analysis of the dimensional interaction patterns." The AI's response carried an unusual undertone, something remarkably close to excitement. "Detecting recursive feedback loops. Each observation is fundamentally altering the observed potential realities." Michael Chen approached the holographic display, his augmented reality glasses capturing every minute detail. "It's not just showing us potential futures," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "It's evaluating our capacity to understand those futures." The room temperature began to fluctuate. Holographic projections started to leak beyond their designated display areas, momentarily overlapping with the physical environment of the research bay. A chair seemed to exist in two states simultaneously, both solid and translucent. Rachel's hands moved with unprecedented speed, adjusting quantum stabilization protocols. "We're creating a dialogue," she realized aloud. "Not just observing, communicating." The most profound revelation came unexpected. The quantum system began to show humanity's potential not through technological achievements, but through collective consciousness. Simulations demonstrated how human innovation stemmed from a unique ability to imagine, to empathize, to transform challenges into opportunities. One particularly striking sequence showed humans working alongside multiple alien civilizations, but they weren't subordinate or dominant. They were collaborators, bringing a unique perspective that fundamentally transformed existing problem-solving approaches. "Look at this," Michael called out, highlighting a specific simulation. "Humans aren't just solving problems. They're redefining the entire concept of problem-solving." Jake watched in silent amazement. The quantum projections revealed a species with an almost miraculous capacity for adaptation. Where other civilizations saw limitations, humans saw possibilities. Where others accepted existing paradigms, humans questioned and reimagined them. Scout's voice cut through the complex visual symphony, warning and observation. The quantum system is not just showing potential futures. It appears to be testing our capacity to comprehend multidimensional potential. The research team exchanged glances. They were no longer just scientists. They had become participants in a cosmic evaluation, a test of humanity's true potential. As the final simulation faded, a single message remained. Written in a language that simultaneously existed as mathematics, poetry, and pure intention, it read, "The journey of understanding has only just begun." Outside the ship's viewscreen, the cosmic anomaly pulsed, watching, waiting, challenging humanity to rise to its true potential. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos the moment Jake Anderson's preliminary report began streaming across interstellar communication networks. 200 species, representing the most advanced civilizations in known space, found themselves confronting a revelation that threatened to unravel everything they understood about cosmic hierarchy. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood at the human delegation's central platform, her posture calm despite the electric tension surrounding her. The holographic displays behind her showed fragments of the quantum archive, impossible images that seemed to breathe and shift with a life of their own. "This is not a discovery," she stated, her voice cutting through the cacophony of alien languages. "This is an invitation." The Jira representative, a being composed of interconnected energy patterns that barely maintained a humanoid shape, pulsed with an intensity that suggested extreme agitation. Its communication tendrils extended, translating in real time. The human interpretation challenges fundamental cosmic understanding. From the Orcs delegation, a crystalline entity whose body refracted light in impossible geometric patterns, came a different response. Verification protocols demanded, it announced, its voice a series of musical tones that translated to clinical bureaucratic language. Michael Chen, standing beside Elena, understood the deeper implications. This wasn't just a scientific discovery. It was a fundamental challenge to the established order of galactic civilization. The holographic displays continued to cycle through the impossible images. Humans appeared in scenarios that defied conventional understanding, solving complex interstellar challenges, mediating conflicts between ancient civilizations, transforming entire planetary ecosystems with what seemed like intuitive understanding rather than technological superiority. The quantum archive, Elena continued, suggests humanity is not just another emerging species. We are a potential cosmic catalyst. The chamber fell silent. Every species present understood the weight of those words. The Galactic Council's central AI system, a massive quantum neural network that processed information across multiple dimensional planes, began its analysis. Probability matrices flickered in the air, complex mathematical representations that showed the potential implications of the human discovery. Lieutenant Rebecca Kim managed the communication systems, routing data streams, and managing the incredible volume of incoming information. Each second brought new requests, new demands for information from scientific institutions, government bodies, and independent research organizations across human-controlled space. Social media platforms exploded. Billions of humans watched live streams of the Galactic Council proceedings. The discovery transformed from a scientific event into a global, no, an interstellar, cultural phenomenon. The Vornax delegation, a collective of energy-based life forms that had long considered themselves the most advanced civilization in known space, seemed the most unsettled. Their representative's form flickered, suggesting deep internal conflict. The human potential, the Vornax representative finally communicated, was predicted in our oldest preservation texts. But prediction is not the same as confrontation. Michael Chen stepped forward, presenting a series of comparative analyses. The presentation showed how human problem-solving approached challenges differently from other known civilizations. Where others saw obstacles, humans saw opportunities. Where established protocols suggested limitation, human thinking suggested transformation. "We're not seeking dominance," he explained. "We're offering collaboration." The Jira representative's energy patterns began to stabilize. Its response came as a complex mathematical equation that simultaneously translated to linguistic and emotional meaning. Potential recognized. Further evaluation required. Outside the council chamber, news networks across multiple species communication platforms broadcast the proceedings. Billions watched as humanity's place in the cosmic narrative began to fundamentally shift. The Galactic Council's central AI completed its initial analysis. The probability matrices converged on a singular, stunning conclusion. Humanity represented an unprecedented variable in the cosmic equation. Elena Rodriguez looked around the chamber, understanding that this moment would be remembered as a turning point, not just for humanity, but for every civilization watching. "We come," she said slowly, deliberately, "not as conquerors, not as students, but as potential partners in a larger cosmic narrative." The chamber remained silent, but it was the silence of profound possibility, of a fundamental transformation about to unfold. The quantum archive continued to pulse, watching, waiting, challenging humanity to rise to its true potential. The research facility orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa hummed with an energy that transcended traditional scientific anticipation. Rachel Martinez stood at the center of a massive holographic array, her eyes reflecting the cascading data streams that seemed to pulse with living intelligence. 72 hours of continuous research had transformed what was initially considered a quantum archive into something far more complex. The system wasn't just a record, it was a living, breathing mechanism of cosmic evaluation. "We're not just observing," Rachel muttered to herself. "We're being tested." Dr. Michael Chen approached, carrying a quantum-encrypted data module that seemed to shimmer between states of existence. "The latest analysis is extraordinary," he said, his voice a mixture of scientific precision and barely contained excitement. "This isn't just information. It's a communication system that adapts to the observer." The holographic displays began to shift, revealing complex patterns that defied traditional mathematical understanding. Where conventional scientific models showed linear progression, these projections demonstrated a multidimensional approach to problem-solving that made human scientific methods look like primitive sketches. Scout-T, the ship's advanced artificial intelligence, began to vocalize its findings. Warning: observed data suggests a fundamental recalibration of scientific understanding is imminent. Lieutenant Rebecca Kim monitored the external systems, her fingers dancing across quantum-sensitive interfaces. "Energy readings are becoming more coherent," she reported. "It's like the archive is learning from our observation." The most profound revelation came unexpectedly. The quantum archive wasn't just presenting potential futures. It was evaluating humanity's capacity to understand those futures. Each interaction, each moment of observation, became part of a complex testing mechanism that went far beyond traditional scientific exploration. A series of holographic simulations burst into existence. They showed humans solving challenges that seemed impossible, transforming entire planetary ecosystems, mediating complex interstellar conflicts, understanding fundamental cosmic principles that had eluded other civilizations for millennia. "Look at this," Michael called out, highlighting a specific sequence. Humans appeared to be working alongside multiple alien civilizations, not as subordinates or rulers, but as true collaborative partners. The approach was fundamentally different from any known interspecies interaction. Rachel's latest algorithm began to decode the deeper layers of the archive. What emerged was less a historical record and more of a living invitation, a challenge presented to a species with the potential for true cosmic consciousness. "It's a recursive evaluation system," she explained to the team. "Each moment of our interaction is simultaneously the test and the result of the test." The facility's quantum computational matrix began to resonate with the archive's energy. Impossible mathematical equations danced across the displays, formulas that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, challenging everything humans understood about mathematical logic. Scout's voice cut through the complex visual symphony. Observation. The archive is not just presenting information. It is engaging in a form of communication that transcends traditional linguistic and mathematical boundaries. Jake Anderson, who had been quietly observing, suddenly leaned forward. "We're not just being shown our potential," he said, his voice carrying a profound realization. "We're being invited to understand the very nature of potential itself." The simulations began to reveal humanity's unique approach to problem solving. Where other civilizations saw limitations, humans saw possibilities. Where others accepted existing paradigms, humans questioned and reimagined them. A particularly striking sequence showed humans solving a complex interstellar challenge that involved manipulating the fundamental structures of spacetime. But they weren't doing it through brute technological force. They were achieving it through a combination of collective imagination, adaptive thinking, and a deep understanding of cosmic principles that went beyond traditional scientific methodology. "The archive is alive," Michael whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "It's not just a record, it's a living system of cosmic evaluation." As the final simulation faded, a message remained, written in a language that simultaneously existed as mathematics, poetry, and pure intention. It read, "The capacity to understand is the first step of transformation." Outside the research facility, Jupiter's massive form loomed, a silent witness to humanity's potentially transformative moment. The quantum archive continued to pulse, watching, waiting, challenging humanity to rise to its true potential. The global research complex at New Shanghai erupted with a wave of innovation that defied everything humanity had previously understood about technological development. Jake Anderson watched as prototype technologies materialized, each one a living testament to the quantum archive's revelations. Dr. Michael Chen stood before a holographic display that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. Surrounding him were technologies that looked more like organic systems than traditional mechanical constructs. Quantum drive prototypes shimmered between states of matter, their structural integrity changing in response to environmental and intentional stimuli. "We're not just developing technology," Michael explained to the assembled international research team. "We're engaging in a conversation with the fundamental principles of existence." The first breakthrough came with the quantum resonance drive. Unlike previous propulsion systems that relied on brute force or traditional energy manipulation, this new technology seemed to communicate with the fabric of spacetime itself. Test simulations showed spacecraft moving not by pushing against space, but by fundamentally reorganizing the dimensional parameters around them. Lieutenant Rebecca Kim managed the complex simulation matrices. "Energy consumption is negative," she reported, her voice tinged with disbelief. "The drive is actually generating more energy the longer it operates." Nearby, a team of xenobiologists worked on what they called adaptive ecosystem interfaces. These were technologies that could communicate with and support planetary environments in ways that went far beyond traditional terraforming. The systems could read and respond to complex ecological networks, healing damaged environments with a precision that bordered on the miraculous. Scout-E, the advanced artificial intelligence monitoring the research, began to vocalize its observations. "Technological development is no longer linear," the AI announced. "Each innovation is creating multiple potential pathways of development simultaneously." The most shocking developments came from the communication technologies. Prototype devices demonstrated the ability to transmit information across dimensional boundaries. What had once been considered impossible, instantaneous communication across vast stretches of space, now seemed almost mundane. Jake approached a demonstration of the dimensional communication prototype. The device looked more like a living organism than a piece of technology. Crystalline structures shifted and reformed, creating communication pathways that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously. "It's not just transmitting information," Michael explained. "It's creating a dialogue with the fundamental structures of communication itself." The global reaction was unprecedented. News networks struggled to comprehend the technological leaps. Governments and scientific institutions watched in a mixture of awe and terror as humanity's technological potential began to unfold. A series of holographic projections showed the potential applications: planetary restoration projects that could heal entire ecosystems in months, medical technologies that could reconstruct cellular structures with unprecedented precision, energy generation systems that drew power directly from the fundamental quantum interactions of the universe. "We're not just developing new technologies," Jake announced during a global broadcast. "We're redefining the relationship between technology, consciousness, and the fundamental structures of reality." The Jira Collective, the ancient interdimensional scholars who had been observing humanity's progress, sent a communication that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Their message was both a warning and an invitation. The path of technological evolution is no longer a linear progression. It is a living, adaptive conversation. Rebecca Kim's team discovered something even more profound. The new technologies weren't just advanced, they were adaptive. Each system seemed to learn, to grow, to transform in response to the intentions and needs of its users. A prototype medical system demonstrated the ability to reconstruct damaged cellular structures by understanding the fundamental intention behind healing. It wasn't just repairing damage. It was engaging in a dialogue with the very concept of biological integrity. The quantum archive continued to pulse in the background of every research facility. Each technological breakthrough seemed to be another step in a larger, more complex evaluation. Scout's final analysis of the day captured the essence of humanity's technological transformation. Technology is no longer a tool. It is a form of communication with the fundamental principles of existence. As night fell over the new Shanghai Research Complex, the technologies continued to shimmer and shift, living proof of humanity's unprecedented potential. The quantum archive watched, waited, challenged humanity to rise to its true potential. The Global Unity Hall in New Geneva resembled a living organism more than a traditional conference center. Holographic interfaces pulsed with the collective consciousness of humanity, transforming the massive chamber into a real-time representation of global thought and potential. Jake Anderson stood at the central platform, watching as representatives from every corner of human civilization prepared for the most important referendum in human history. Behind him, a massive display showed real-time global participation data, billions of minds connecting, considering, deliberating. "This is more than a vote," Dr. Michael Chen whispered beside him. "This is a collective evolutionary moment." The quantum archive's revelations had brought humanity to a critical crossroads. The discoveries from the Cosmic Archive suggested that humanity possessed a unique potential, not for conquest, but for fundamental cosmic transformation. Now, every human would have a voice in determining how that potential would be expressed. Lieutenant Rebecca Kim managed the global communication systems, her fingers dancing across quantum-sensitive interfaces that tracked the collective emotional and intellectual responses of billions. The referendum question was deceptively simple: how will humanity engage with its cosmic potential? Holographic displays showed multiple potential paths. One projection demonstrated a path of aggressive expansion, using the new technologies to rapidly colonize and transform multiple star systems. Another showed a collaborative approach, using humanity's unique abilities to solve complex interstellar challenges alongside other civilizations. But the most intriguing projection showed something entirely different: a path of collective evolution that went beyond traditional understanding of technological or territorial advancement. Scouty, the advanced artificial intelligence monitoring the global system, began to vocalize its observations. Collective consciousness detecting unprecedented levels of unified intentionality, the AI announced. The voting system was unlike anything in human history. It wasn't about selecting a single option, but about creating a collective vision. Quantum interfaces allowed people to contribute not just their votes, but their deepest hopes, fears, and imaginative potential. Cultural barriers dissolved. Economic divisions became meaningless. For the first time, humanity spoke with something approaching a single voice. Indigenous leaders from the Amazon rainforest shared the same interface as quantum physicists in Tokyo. Agricultural workers in African cooperative farms contributed with the same weight as Silicon Valley technologists. Every perspective became part of a complex, living decision-making process. We are not choosing a direction, Jake announced to the global audience. We are defining our collective potential. The Jira Collective, the ancient interdimensional observers, watched with intense interest. Their communication tendrils extended across multiple dimensional planes, tracking humanity's collective decision-making process with a mixture of anticipation and cautious respect. Hours passed. The holographic displays showed increasingly complex patterns of human potential. It wasn't about selecting a single path, but about creating a dynamic, adaptive approach to humanity's cosmic role. Michael Chen pointed to a particularly fascinating visualization. "Look," he said, "we're not just voting. We're co-creating a living strategy of cosmic engagement." The final moments of the referendum approached. Global communication networks hummed with an energy that went beyond traditional understanding. This was more than a political process. This was an evolutionary moment. Scout's final analysis began to take shape. The collective human intention was becoming clear, a path of collaborative transformation that defied traditional understanding of progress, expansion, or technological development. Collective intention detected, the AI announced. Humanity chooses adaptive collaboration over competitive expansion. The result wasn't a single strategy, but a dynamic framework. Humanity would approach its cosmic potential as a collaborative, adaptive species, not seeking to dominate, but to understand. Not looking to conquer, but to participate in a larger cosmic dialogue. As the final votes were tallied, the quantum archive pulsed in the background, watching, evaluating, challenging. Jake Anderson looked out over the global Unity Hall. Humanity had just taken its most significant step into a larger cosmic narrative. The universe watched, waited, challenged humanity to rise to its true potential. The RSS horizon hung at the edge of known space, a living testament to humanity's transformative potential. Jake Anderson stood on the bridge, watching as the quantum archive's final message continued to unfold around them, a cosmic tapestry of possibility that defied traditional understanding. Dr. Michael Chen approached, his augmented reality glasses capturing every minute detail of the extraordinary scene before them. "It's not an ending," he said softly. "It's a beginning." The ship's advanced sensors detected something unprecedented. The very fabric of space around them seemed to respond to the horizon's presence, shifting, adapting, communicating in a language that existed between mathematics and pure intention. Lieutenant Rebecca Kim monitored the ship's systems, her fingers dancing across quantum-sensitive interfaces that pulsed with living intelligence. "Dimensional boundaries are becoming increasingly fluid," she reported. "We're not just observing the universe, we're participating in its ongoing creation." Scouty, the ship's artificial intelligence, began to vocalize a complex analysis that was part scientific observation, part philosophical revelation. Humanity's potential, the AI announced, is not defined by conquest or expansion. It is defined by the capacity to understand and transform. The quantum archive continued to reveal its final layers. Holographic projections showed potential futures that were not fixed destinations, but living, breathing possibilities. Humans appeared in scenarios that went far beyond traditional understanding of exploration. diplomacy, or technological development. One particularly striking sequence demonstrated humanity's unique approach to interstellar challenges. Where other civilizations saw obstacles, humans saw opportunities for collaborative transformation. Entire planetary ecosystems were restored. Complex interspecies conflicts were resolved through innovative approaches that emphasized mutual understanding. "We're not just exploring space," Jake said, more to himself than to anyone else. "We're engaging in a dialogue with the fundamental principles of existence." The Jura Collective, the ancient interdimensional observers, sent a final communication that resonated through the ship's quantum communication systems. Their message was both a congratulation and a challenge. The path of cosmic evolution is no longer linear. It is a living, adaptive conversation. Michael Chen studied the projections, his scientific mind struggling to comprehend the full implications. "Look at this," he called out, highlighting a specific sequence. Humans were working alongside multiple alien civilizations, not as conquerors or subordinates, but as true collaborative partners. The ship's external sensors began to detect something extraordinary. The space around the horizon was no longer a passive backdrop. It had become an active, responsive environment that seemed to communicate through fundamental quantum interactions. Rebecca's console erupted with complex data streams. "The universe is responding to our presence," she said, her voice a mixture of scientific precision and pure wonder. "We're not just observing. We're participating in its ongoing creation." Scout's final analysis captured the essence of humanity's cosmic potential. Exploration is no longer about physical movement. It is about expanding the boundaries of understanding itself. The Quantum Archive's final message became clear. Humanity's true potential was not about technological superiority or territorial expansion. It was about the capacity to imagine, to understand, to transform. Jake Anderson looked out at the cosmic vista before them. The universe was no longer a thing to be conquered or studied from a distance. It was a living, breathing system of infinite potential, and humanity was now an active participant in its ongoing creation. "We are not just a species," he said softly. "We are a cosmic conversation." The RSS horizon began to move, not through traditional propulsion, but through a fundamental communication with the fabric of space-time itself. Each moment was a new discovery. Each movement was a form of dialogue. The Quantum Archive pulsed one final time. Its message was both an ending and a beginning. The journey of understanding has only just begun. Outside the ship's view screen, the cosmos stretched out, infinite, mysterious, waiting. Humanity had taken its first true step into a larger narrative of existence.